Okay, so this is the oral report rather than the written one. And the significant ethical issue and the background is that in 2025, Meta and its companies that it owns, Facebook, Instagram, rolled out a new program for training its LLMs. And the way that they were training it was that it was collecting data from the users. They had roughly 2 decades worth of data. Um, and at around 2024, they realized that everything that was easy on the internet to train these things have been exhausted. They used all of it up. So the competition to make a better LLM was kind of a stalemate. So Facebook realized, or Meta realized, that we have all this information from millions of users. Let's start using that. Um, they tried to roll this out in 2024, but it failed. So in 2025, um, on May 27th, they were approved and they rolled it out in Europe. And it faced a lot of backlash from a couple things. So it had an opt-out clause instead of an opt-in clause, and the opt-out clause was incredibly difficult. You had to mail a petition to Meta with a written justification of why you shouldn't be in it. It was also opaque in the way that they said 2 billion emails to people letting them know, but this was after they're already doing it. Again, it also works retroactively, so that 15 years ago, if you're a Facebook user and you take a selfie, there's no way of anticipating that eventually it's going to be used to train AI. So you have no way of anticipating that, but it worked retroactively. And secondly was that, or thirdly, I think, was that it uses, if there's a bystander, if you're somewhere, you take a selfie with someone, and I don't know, there's a shepherd in the background. They might not have any social media, but now Meta can train its LLMs off of the picture of a shepherd. So there's no consent, and it's kind of a messy thing. And then the stakeholders obviously is Meta and its shareholders. Find where with that. Yeah, Meta and its shareholders, and their goal is to have the most efficient LLM. Obviously, make a profit. They claim to be ethical. I disagree. And advertisers. Those are the other big ones for shareholders. Because according to Meta's full year 2025, how much money they got, advertising was 97.6 of its total revenue. And that's also according to its SEC filings. So that's nearly all of the money they make is off of advertising spots on Instagram or whatever, because people watch it. Also, the European adults are obviously shareholders, because this is their image that they're trying to control and preserve and maintain ownership over. So they're the big one. They're, from a human standpoint, they make up the bulk of who has an interest in it. And obviously it competes with what the shareholders want. Yeah, shareholders, I'm sorry. Because they want to maximize profits. And lastly, the other one I mentioned earlier, the bystanders, the people that are basically collateral in photos that now, whether they know it and approve of it or not, that their image is being used and likeness is being used to train a large language model. And so the two ethical frameworks that I would apply to it, one is utilitarianism, because I'm a fan of it personally. And the way that I guess you could apply to this is if you think really big picture, and some utopia, Facebook's LLM ends world hunger. And it did that by, it had so much information, so much data from the people, whether they liked it or not, that it was able to figure out, okay, this is how we do it. Despite that people lost ownership of their ideas on social media or their image or whatever it may be. But in the end, the product was good and the LLM did something good. And the second one, which I think makes more sense here, was deontology. Was that for the end to be good, the whole thing must be good, as I understand it at least. So in this case, the process wasn't, I would say, good, because Meta was purposely opaque about how they were going about this. They were doing things and then notifying people they were doing things. They were making it hard for them to stop, especially when the justification is so subjective. It's not, well, it's not just like, I don't know, a bullet point or list the dots of why. You have to describe, which might be difficult for people who have trouble writing, or it's just purposely obtuse. So I would say that in that case, it would not justify, well, now we have a great LLM, but I think it was 200 million people. Well, they don't have control of their image anymore. And so evaluate the organization's actual conduct using evidence was that, and this is from its responsible innovation principles on Meta's website. So it's that they commit to being explicit about the data it collects so people can make informed decisions. And so the big caveat with this is that they did let people know, but people didn't have a decision in the case. Meta was rolling ahead with it, despite it saying, well, then you can make a decision. You couldn't. The other ones from the Meta responsible innovation principles was that Meta prioritizes the community, which I disagree with, because this action is just blatantly about Meta becoming more successful. If anything, it detracts from the well-being of the community, because now they have to fight to preserve ownership of their image. And then in 2023, Meta dropped legitimate interest for advertising and moved to opt-in consent. So it changed, and now they moved to opt-out consent, just purposely making it harder for people to understand how their data is used and how to stop it from being used. One more. No, that's all. And so what I would recommend for doing this is that they're more transparent. They faced a lot of backlash from the EU when they did this. And I think the end goal of creating a better LLM is a good goal, but the way they went about it was not good. I think they should have been, if anything, explicitly transparent, and maybe just over the top transparent with people, just letting them know exactly what they're going to do. And if people didn't want that, that's okay. Facebook still would have gotten some, I'm sure some people would have opted in. Obviously, that's not great numbers when you can just force 200 million people to be a part of this. And then, where was my argument against it? Oh, and then, yeah, the strongest argument against it is, or I guess for what they did, is that you're doing everything on their platform. They own it. They own what you're putting out there, so they should have a right to use it. Which I think is a fair point to an extent. I think when you start owning what happens with people's ideas, it's kind of a slippery slope, and where do you draw the line? But I think if the whole process had a lot more transparency, then people wouldn't be as mad if they knew, well, this is where it's going. I don't have to do this, but if I did this, maybe I could help a bigger goal with my information. So yeah, that is it.